in retrospect, I mean, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, you're still a professional. We all have
course.
feelings,
Of
but
course.
there is no single player in the NFL is bigger than the whole league. This
Oh,
is a
no, of course not.
multi-billion-dollar
Of course not.
operation. So,
Yeah.
you know, right now in 2024, when you look back on it, do you feel like
Mhm.
you could have handled it a little bit differently, or would
Oh,
you have still
hell
done it
no.
the same way?
Hell yeah. Did
Okay.
that the same way. Because as a professional, you got the right and responsibility to make a statement on who you are, what your value is, what your worth is. Like, you tell your boss exactly what you're worth. So it's like, that was my professional statement. That ain't no shade to the team. I'm not playing today. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no disrespect to my guys. They know what that is, but it's like, at that level, for those contracts, for what you do on that field, this is your life still. It's like, motherfuckers are getting hit. This is affecting like our lives for the rest of our lives. It's like, you have to make a statement on who you are as well professionally. Otherwise, like, any and everything can happen to you in that game, in that sport, for such a dangerous sport and in a high earning business. Like, yes, as an athlete, you don't have, especially at this time, there wasn't no social like that. You don't have very much of a voice for yourself. You don't have too many people fighting on your, so one of the few things you can do as an athlete in the NFL is decide to show up or not show up. That may be one of the only tools you have to stake your claim. So no, I do the same exact thing.
Okay, so you would have done it exactly the same way.
Exactly the same. I'm proud and impressed with my younger self for having the cojones to stand on that.
Okay. Now, was it earlier that season you actually tore your ACL?
It was the end of the 2011 season. So it was the last game of the year before.
Of the year before. Okay,
so I was
okay.
coming back from the torn ACL in 2012.
Got it. And
Yeah,
a torn ACL in sports is one of the most serious injuries.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, people coming back from a torn ACL is the
a tough one.
exception. Is not the
it's a
rule.
tough
This is why, like with Kobe, it was such a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
With,
It used to be a career
Kevin
ender.
Durant, such a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. It used to be a career ender.
Exactly.
And when the
it still is, I think. I mean, depending on how things go.
When the medicine and training is updated so much, where there's kind of a process, a regimen of how they know how to come back from torn ACLs now.
Oh, so these days they could actually fix it.
These days, yeah. You can kind of come back and do better. That was at the time where that was still improving. So that there used to be a very, very detrimental injury. And now you can they got a program where you can make it through now. But it's still a steep injury to be coming back from. And that's where I was in 2012.
I mean, were you freaked out when you found out you have a torn ACL? Did you think, okay, this is it? I got to go find a job? Like...
Yeah. No, so it's funny because when it happened, it was so mild. Like I was running and going to make a cut in week 17 against the Cleveland Browns. I was on the right side going to make a cut. And I just felt like a little jolt. And I'm like, man, that was weird. And I was sitting down for a second. I'm like, huh. But I got up and I walked off the field. I went to the side. And so when they first told me I could, because it was so mild how it happened, like they tested my knee on the little, now they have a blue tent, but then you were just out in the open. They tested it, and then Dr. Bradley looked at me and said, you tore your ACL. And I'm like, no way. That was so, I'm like, you tripping. I feel like I can go out there and play right now. He was like, no, it would stop right here. It's not stopping. So I didn't, because of, so much happens on that field, I didn't get the magnitude of it until I went into the locker room. And I was laying in the training room on on one of the benches on one of the gurneys. And it hit me after the game, when my teammates came in. Because then guys are walking in, and Hines came and he gave me a hug and like a kiss on the forehead. Coach T came in and grabbed me and kissed me. And I'm like, wait, so they were treating me like I was like dead or something. And that's when it hit me. And I started bawling. I started crying. I'm like, wait, is this I felt like it was a funeral when the game ended. And so it really kind of settled in then.
So that next year you actually got traded to the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, not traded. My 5-year was complete.
Okay, so your contract was over.
12. Contract was over.
But they could have renewed it.
They could have re-signed or renewed it. They left it at that. We left it at that.
Was it over not showing up to the game, you think? Did that leave a sour taste in people's mouths?
No, I don't think so, because our relationship was, I met with Coach T after that. Our relationship was shored up. I think it's, in the NFL around this time, 5 years from a running back coming off the ACL, maybe they felt like they could go younger or kind of find a new RB in the draft. So I think it was just kind of, I think it was more sport reasons. And so went to free agency and then signed with the Arizona Cardinals via free agency.
Right. You got $2.5 million.
Yes. It was 2.5 guaranteed
Mm-hmm.
with the ceiling of $3.5 million if I hit certain incentives, like 1,000 yards.
Up to that point, you'd made about 10 million, 10, 11 million or so.
That's a good guesstimation, but I hit all the incentives, so I saw every bit of that 12.55.
Aha.
Yeah, so I had the 7 guaranteed,
Right.
and I played for 5 years.
You got the 12 and a half.
So I got 12 and a half, all of it.
So up to that point, before you went to the Cardinals, is your money situation straight? You're financially responsible. You're not
yeah. I was living in the same townhouse, driving the same Jaguar. At this point, I added a Lincoln as well because it's snowing. It's hills in Pittsburgh, so I had a $34,000 Lincoln MKX. So that in the Jaguar. So no, I was still in that same $290K townhouse. When I found out I was going to Arizona, I sold it for $360. So I made $70K on my way to Arizona, living in the same townhouse for my rookie year. So no, I was in a very, very fiscally responsible, very financially positive situation.
I mean, were you investing your money along the way?
Oh, absolutely.
In what way?
Yeah. I had a financial manager and have a portfolio that was pretty diverse. So it's kind of like the snowball effect in my mind. You take like a snowball, roll it down the hill, and it just kind of builds and
You're talking about Warren Buffett.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that was Warren Buffett. His book is called
Snowball. That was the book that changed my life, actually. But yeah, you're right.
That's crazy.
Investing in stocks is like a snowball.
Yeah. So I just had the snowball going.
Compound interest.
Exactly. And that's where I tossed what I had, kept a little bit on me, and kept going. So my compound interest, my money was building still.
Smart. I love it. I love when people actually have this type of conversation as opposed to.
I feel that. Damn.
I invested in this label and, I put 10 million in that, and then they ran off my money, and then my financial advisor ripped me off because you never really got ripped off by your financial advisors.
Nah, I took time to make sure I found my guy. Because early on, I remember, and it was kind of silly because when I first, I wanted to invest like first off. So I remember going to the bank and getting a CD. And it was like I put like $300K, and I think I got like 6,000 or something on that, like something small. But I wanted to wait to really do due diligence before I found my financial advisor. And when I finally did, that man Kevin Peters, like it's been awesome. We're still rocking to this day. I've had one guy, and no, he's never done me.
Yeah, I mean, investing in stocks completely changed the trajectory of my life. Totally. Like, I don't even want to think if I didn't invest what I'd be doing with my money.
No, really. And annuities and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're playing for Arizona. And you had a solid year. You had 8 touchdowns.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of that season, were they looking to sign you again? Were you a free agent one more time, or?
I think at that, I chose to walk away.
Well, yeah, and I understand that, but I'm saying leading up to that, were there offers on the table?
Oh, no, so there was so I had the 1-year deal in Arizona. Yeah. And through that year, I was kind of like mulling the my football like life and longevity if I was going to still be going. So at the end of the year, you always have a meeting with your head coach. Had the meeting with Bruce Arians, and they were kind of along the lines of, obviously, Andre Ellington was a rookie, my backup. He was doing pretty well. From the outside standpoint, the fans maybe probably wanted to see more of him. So when I had the meeting with BA, he told me, you did a good job this year, solid, did what we asked you to. Maybe we would have liked to see a little bit more, but we're going to go into our all season, think about what we want to do, weigh it. It was just kind of like very gray, you know what I'm saying? Like but I told him in that same meeting where I felt like it was complete for me. And I even said it in an article where he said, I told him I wanted to write books or something in that meeting, where I told him I'm kind of seeing my life apart from the game more so than I am for it. So I told him actually in that meeting that I was going to retire. Because I remember after our meeting, I was sitting in the Jaguar looking at the field, and my wife was there, and I'm like, and I stayed there for a long time just to look out the field. And we both knew like this was over, because I told BA that like I was going to pursue writing going forward.
Well, you're 26 years old.
Yes.
And you have teams that are interested.
Yes, because my agent was getting calls through via free agency.
You could continue in football. Yeah. I actually looked it up. The oldest football player to play was 42.
Yes. Yeah, you can keep going.
You know what I'm saying? You still had realistically 5 years.
Oh, most definitely.
right? Maybe even 10 if you push it.
10's crazy for
10's crazy, but 5 is realistic, right? Realistic. You see 30-year-old, 31-year-old football players.
Yeah. Some of my peers have done it. Running backs, yeah.
Exactly. What really made you say, okay, at 26, I am walking away from a sport that still wants me?
So you got to think about it. Even with my mom going into football, she had always said that football's just a tool or a vehicle. It's not the end all be all. I have a purpose in this life under God. It's what that's more important than just what I do professionally than football. So going into the sport and the game, I've kind of always had this idea that whenever the cloud spoke to me, whenever it felt like it was time to walk away, when it was time to go, then I wouldn't, then I would acknowledge that. So I've always kind of felt like when it was time to walk away, I would. And also thinking about professionally, like if the Arizona Cardinals didn't say, oh, we undoubtedly want you back and we want you to keep leading this team. If they don't say that, then what happens? I go back to free agency again and I'm, going to another team. Now I'm with the Tennessee Titans. I'm wearing a weird number, like 37. And at that point, they start to devalue you as a running back anyway. I feel like back in the day, like in the Emmitt Smith era, like Jerome Bettis, Barry, like when you have those running back one guys, you're given a chance and a space to mature as a running back, where in their years 7, 8, 9, they may not have been the same as year 3 and 4, but they still carried weight. They still evolved their play. They still were those guys that led their team and commanded their team. So I feel like back in the day, you were given a chance to mature as a running back. Now it's like you want somebody younger. You want somebody, quicker, faster, right away. So I just felt like I would have been in a situation where I'm holding on for dear life as a running back as well. So those two things together felt like it was time to leave. I don't know what it's going to be for me, but I'm pretty sure I'll be devalued anyway. It was just time.
I mean, it's crazy that a 26-year-old is saying that there's younger guys that the team is more interested in. You're 26.
Yeah, you got it.
26. Yeah. No other career in the real world are you saying that. I mean, even strippers at 26 are still at their prime.
They still going.
You know what I'm
for real. For sure.
They're not worried about the 18-year-olds.
No, for real. They still
at
going.
At 26, they're still getting their money.
Yeah, they grown women body.
In football at 26, you're feeling over the hill. That's just wild when I hear you say that.
Yeah. 6 years in the league, that'll do it. So, so you're considered, considered an older RB.
I mean, was your body feeling beat up at that point?
I was feeling it. Yeah. I was feeling it. It didn't feel beat up. Like I played well and I felt like I was getting stronger towards the end of Arizona, because in 2012, I was coming back off the ACL. In Arizona, my feet were under me and I had my new running style. I knew who I was. I was interior runner. I'm getting downhill and I'm using quickness in a different way. So I found my running style. My feet were under me. And towards the end of the year, I felt stronger than in the beginning. So my body was still there, but yes, I was feeling the effects of being an NFL running back for 6 seasons.